good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
What's greetings, Earth?
Same genius time.
Any demographic I identify with.
I don't believe you murder.
I think an ignorant voter and a non-voter
What he did. He took the military out
are
before
one and
he
the
took
same.
the civilians.
Same
Who does
genius
that?
channel.
Under his watch.
What
Know
has
something,
he done
bro.
about police reform in this country? Nothing.
Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome to Unsolicited Genius. I am your curator, Carlton Ennis. I am joined today by my brother since 1990-something, Craig, aka from this point forward, Amish Craig Lindo, and my brother since I cooked him something, Mo Lofty. On today's show, we will talk about Blaxit, the NBA of today versus yesterday, and we will revisit some of our favorite verses in hip hop. We hope to give you something to ponder.
Listening to
Brothers, what is up? How are y'all doing today?
Was good, dog. Was good. Carlton got the mac and cheese on lock. I won't lie to you. Him and my wife's mac and cheese, my two favorite.
Well,
I feel like if I was a little bit
chicken
younger,
too.
I'm supposed to say pause.
Huh?
What you say,
If I was
Craig?
a little bit younger, I feel like I'm supposed to say pause.
What about the mac and cheese?
Yeah,
Why?
Mac and cheese means something now?
yeah. That's the sound it make when you deep in it, bro. That mac and cheese sound. You ain't heard that?
Oh hell no, man!
No.
You're ruining everything.
I'm sorry.
didn't
I've been
know.
corrupted by the internet. Ignore me.
Dang.
Continue on with your uncorrupted brains. My bad.
Well, I put a little crust on the top of mine, so it's not like it doesn't. It might do it a little bit, but I know with the mac and cheese you talking about.
Since
but mine,
we starting off right now.
Yeah,
like,
that's stirring
I'm
sound I'm talking
eating-
about. You
I'm
know
not
what I'm talking
eating-
about.
I'm not
Right,
eating
let me
that
get
wet
quiet.
mac and cheese. I'm with Carlton, man. You gotta have a nice crust. It's gotta be baked. If your mac and cheese is made on the stovetop, I don't want it. I don't want it.
fair enough.
Some of that bullshit, man.
Fair enough. But that first time, Mo, I did the fried chicken, so that's what sealed our deal.
Oh, nah, for those that don't know, you got to give it the back. Carlton used to live in Lakeland, and I lived in Orlando. And every Sunday, I'd make that drive to Lakeland so we could watch football, man. And Carlton would be throwing down, dog. This is before I cooked. You know, I got into cooking later on in life. Oh, those were some fun times, man.
The before Mo Cooks took off. But yeah, those were good. I miss that house. I drive, every so often when I'm in Central Florida, I drive by the house just to look at it, man. It was a special
I remember
place.
the house perfectly, man. There was a
special
Publix
place.
in the neighborhood that was right down the street.
Right around the corner.
There's the little patio. Carlton would fall asleep by the 4 o'clock games because the Giants always played at 1.
It is what it is. You work hard, you need a nap. All right, so what's on your minds today? Craig, I'll start with you. Anything brewing, anything percolating?
Nothing significant except for the fact that words don't mean anything anymore. Like Andre pointed out in one of his songs, Andre 3K, but generally speaking, like a lot of words have either got watered down or banned or strategically placed. Like, so now words like friendship, love, like, they don't really mean anything. The word friend don't mean what it used to. The word love don't mean what it used to. And because of social media, friend, love, like, those words, they're watered down. And we've gotten to the point that we don't speak honestly. We speak from platitude to not offend the listener, to the point that a lot of exchanges are worthless, bro. People, that whole word is bond thing is dead. Some of that it's, over the years, media has something to do with that, but that's what's on my mind overall. The fact that I think the watering down of words is 100% correlational, lockstep with the death of free speech. Like, you can't speak freely like you used to, just because the definition of a word that you might use, even though if it's, empirically, objectively accurate and hurt my feelings. You can't use it. Like, come on, man. This whole thing is basura, trash. I don't respect it. So for me, and even amongst people, like people throw things around so lightly that some of us that take that seriously, we don't know how to respond to that. Your word is trash. Like, how do I so I'm supposed to depend on that? Like, I don't know where I stand with you because it's thrown around so frequently, so lightly, and never followed through on. So for me, it's the growth of censorship and the death of meaning behind valuable words. That's what's on my mind. Like, you got people out here living confused. I'm one of them. Somebody help me out if I'm behind the curve. I'm okay. I want the help. My DMs are open.
Well, I throw in some perspective. I don't. It's what's on your mind, so it's not anything to debate or refute. I do live by the mantra that words matter, but one of the things that I've come to appreciate and I incorporate in my coaching practice is energy and inner energy, emotional energy, the energy that we project, because that is legible too. You can read energy. We all of us do it, project, all of us receive it. Our ability to translate it and understand what it means is unique to the individual. So I find in my comings and goings, as much as words matter, I give any individual his or her space to choose their words accordingly, but I'm also reading your energy. So if you say you love me, do I feel it? When I say it, when I say it, I know I mean it. When I get it back, do I feel it? And to your point, is it reflective in your other actions? Friends, acquaintances, all of these things I think do get convoluted, but I have friends. You all are my friends as much as you are my brothers. So you're my brothers, not related by blood, but related in love. But I have other people who would be on that friends list that I may have their birthday on my calendar, and when it comes up, I get the alert and I get ready to say happy birthday. And I see the last time that we communicated was when I said happy birthday last year. So some of them I didn't even get to thank you for the happy birthday. So we maybe in the category of friends or word friends, but not quite the kind of friends that I'm taking in the future. So it's complicated out there, but what I add to the thought tank is energy and where that sits in addition to what you have to say.
Heard. Look, I was a naive kid. I was one of them cats, like all them times when we were outside throwing the football out with everybody from Ram to Bahami to Naeem and all them other cats, dog. In my head, I was like, dog, we're gonna grow up and we're all gonna live on the same block together, and this is gonna continue. So I was a naive ass kid. It is what it is. Now we adults, we don't all live on the same block, and I'm the only one disappointed.
I have friends. I have those late teens, early 20 friends, college friends. We would get together on the occasion, sit around and, imagine the future. And I thought it would include everybody on a regular basis. Now, the trick on me was I was the one that went super far. I'm the one out in Texas, which I would have never imagined that I'd be in. But I'm going on almost 20 years. So, you're not the only one that was a little naive. It's a part of life. Uncle Mo, what's on your mind?
I'm not as angry as Craig. I'm just chilling, man.
I'm not angry. I'm Amish.
I'm not as upset as Amish Craig.
He's not angry. He's Amish.
Me and Carlton have had this discussion many times about words, and I'm very much like Carlton. I think words are very impactful. They carry tremendous meaning, and but I also understand what Craig's saying is like people say things now without paying credence to what their words mean, you know? So I try to be very mindful of my words and make sure that the things that I'm saying, I truly believe. So, you know,
Alignment.
yeah, like it just, you know, words are so powerful, man. And how you choose to deploy those words can almost be like weaponizing them in a lot of ways. You know, you can hurt with your words, you can inspire with your words, you could bring people to rally behind your words, like some great leaders that we've had in the past. So, you know, words are a powerful thing, and people should be more mindful of making sure that, like Carlton said, the word love. Like if I tell you I love you, like, you know, I mean that shit, because to me, there's no room to be like, I love you if you don't mean that shit. Like that to me is just a flagrant offense in my mind. So, you know, if I tell you something, I truly am about that.
Now the tongue is a weapon.
Yeah, words can be very much so weaponized, man.
It can words are, if you think about a physical harm that may occur, you break a bone, it will heal. You get surgery, put a cast on for a little while, it will heal. But if you say the wrong thing at the wrong time to somebody as they're vulnerable, you may change the trajectory of that person's life. You know, the relationship could potentially never heal because of that thing you said. You know, it's one thing, I always use this example when I talk about impact of words. You know, Mo, you say something funny, they be like, man, you a stupid mofo, boy. Don't you know? Or you offend me, or I'm in that offensive place, I could say, you stupid motherfucker, right?
Mm-hmm.
And same words, but
Just
the
tone.
energy that I give to it does something completely different. So, you know, we're adults, we know the difference, but to the listener, got to be careful.
I found myself pointing out that same thing, addressing that same concept most predominantly in two circumstances. One, with my students. When they say I am, I make sure I check them. Never follow the words I am with negativity, right? Because like in short, you're casting a spell on yourself. Like don't do that. You know what I mean? That is just not best practice, right? And then there are loved ones older than me. The list includes, but it's not limited to, my own mother, where when she's going through certain things, dealing with her illness or other things that might get her down, so then she will say sentences that start in I am, and then she will totally destroy herself. And that negative self-talk leads nowhere. So I am a big believer in the idea that your word choice matters, and you can't just put anything after the word pairing I am, right? Because now it's almost like you're committing to something. It just doesn't go well. I don't see it work in any of my experiences. So I'm on that.
And you said cast spells, Craig, and I'll give you out the full quote because I just pulled it up. It's funny you said cast spells. The full quote says, Bruce Lee, rest in peace to Bruce Lee, don't speak negatively about yourself even as a joke. Your body doesn't know the difference. Words are energy and they cast spells. And that's why it's called spelling. Change the way you speak about yourself and you can change your life.
Yep.
Powerful quote, man. Powerful.
Psalms 64, verse 2. Hide me from the conspiracy of the wicked, from the plots of evildoers. They sharpen their tongues like swords and aim cruel words like deadly arrows. They shoot from ambush at the innocent. They shoot suddenly without fear. So that's verse 2 through 4. chapter verse 7 says, but God will shoot them with his arrows. They will suddenly be struck down. He will turn their own tongues against them and bring them to ruin. All who see them will shake their heads in scorn. All people will fear. They will proclaim the works of God and ponder what he has done. So
Taking them to church.
biblically, it's biblical as well in terms of the power of the tongue. And it's a whole lot of verses and context in
There
the
are.
Bible related to the
Can
tongue.
I take the opportunity to add two more now that you did that? Proverbs 23:7, if I'm not mistaken, is as a man thinketh, so is he. Right? Whatever you're saying that you thought that first, it started here. You know what I'm saying? That goes to the negative self-speech, negative self-thinking, how you associate yourself. So, and it does build out from that, because one of the biggest problems with the Bible, we just take each line a vacuum. Each line is an entendre, beyond metaphor. Work on that. But so 23:7 was as a man thinketh, so is he. And above all else, guard your heart, because everything you do flows from it. Like, you look, it starts here. Those words are reflective of something. And just like the fact that the brain can't tell the difference between a fake smile and a real smile, so you could fake smile to get endorphins going, it's kind of the same thing with the self-speech. Sometimes you got to continuously say things and not necessarily speak it into existence, but acknowledge the positive side of things, so that that's the side that wins out almost, right? So that's my little 2 cents on that. I love Proverbs. That's connected to my whole thing later with my daily reading, so I won't go any farther than that. I'll shut up there.
All right. Well,
With what I've been reading. So,
well, you know, what I say is I appreciate you sharing what's on your mind, because it gave us opportunity to share what's inside of ours. So shout out to Amish Craig. All right. Headliners. You know, I guess we had the Super Bowl show last week, but I guess it's been a couple weeks since we've done, you know, a traditional episode. And it's just so much, whether it be Trump's never surrender sneakers, the Republican Party falling apart, shooting at the Kansas City victory parade, shooting at Joel Osteen's church out in Houston, police officer firing at, if y'all heard, the Acorn cop. So did y'all hear about this? Craig, you shake your head. No, Mo, you heard about it.
My students been talking about it.
hit me up. Let me know.
Police officer, I want to say Florida, but I don't, indifferent, a trained officer. He and his partner make an arrest, or not even arrest. I think they detained an individual, and circumstances were such that they detained the individual in the police car. Video footage showed that they searched the individual, patted the individual down for weapons, no weapons, handcuffed, put him in a police car. As officer is walking next to his car, maybe just continuing to assess the landscape, things seem to be settled, he hears a noise that he determines to be gunfire. His thoughts say that it was the individual inside of the police car must have somehow had a weapon, got to a weapon, and was firing upon him. So upon doing some Bruce Lee moves and flipping over, rolling around in the grass, he gathers himself, turns over, faces the police car, and unloads his gun. He emptied the clip. I think that's how he emptied his clip, firing at his police car, believing that the individual inside the police car was firing on him. After investigation, I don't know if it was on the scene and they found out immediately, or if they had to assess footage later, it was determined that what he heard and assumed to be gunfire were acorns falling on the top of his vehicle. And when I tell you, Brother Craig, that he unleashed into that vehicle, he shot his car with someone inside of it. Fortunately, I think maybe just a graze. The person wasn't killed. If any injuries, very minor injuries. He has since resigned. But I bring that up to add that on top of the Texas girl, Audrey Cunningham, who had been missing. I got several Amber Alerts over the weekend. She had been missing, 11 years old, didn't make it to school. I believe it was on Thursday. They have today found her body in a river. So there's not one topic, one headliner at this point to even go to. I guess that's what happened when we miss a week. But what I bring to the table for discussion with you gentlemen is the idea of when is enough enough, right? And enough being represented by, as it's deemed on the internets, the Blaxit. Here, United States of America, Black people, brown people, in a lot of places aren't very welcome, be it in the laws, be it in the gerrymandering, be it in the representation of our issues and concerns in our government. And so it's a group of folks that say we out. Hence the Black exit, Blaxit. So my question for discussion with you gentlemen is, do we stay or do we go?
I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, Carlton. If you feel the need to go, I'm with you, man. Like I get that, and I support your decision, and I can understand why you would make that decision. But for me personally, no, that's not an option for me. That's why I do this show with you, because I want America to be a better place, to be a more equal place, to be a more just place, to be a place that is welcoming to everyone, that lives up to the creed that it essentially started out with. And I do think, and we were talking about being naive, and maybe I am naive because, for hundreds of years, we've proven that we can't get to this point. Have we had improvement? Sure. Is there still a long way to go? Absolutely. But I think it's a battle worth fighting for, man. I really do. America at its best, in my eyes, is when you do have this melting pot of people from all walks of life that get together and are able to put their differences aside, that are differences that can't be controlled, like the color of your skin, for example, that can't be controlled. But you and I have been in situations, Carlton, where it's been people from all walks of life, all races, genders, sexualities, and everybody got along, man. Everybody got along. So those moments give me the hope that makes me believe that this country could be a better place for my son, and hopefully for his grandchildren, it could actually live up to what it's supposed to be. And the other thing about the exit, man, is I'm just not, where do Black people go to find peace? Like, show me that place. Show me that place. And even in Africa, man, you got people that are corrupt, that take advantage of their own people for their own profit. You go to Europe, just a bunch of white people that are racist over in Europe as well. Unless you're talking about, like, we're going to some remote place where it's just us, like we build up a community where it's just us with people we're comfortable with. Where does a Black person go to find that peace? I'm not sure I have the answer for that, man.
Craig, so the question is, do we stay or go? Mo's perspective is, you have to do what's best for you. He's opting to stay. You weren't born here, so clearly you have access, maybe still have access to a life outside of these states. So when you hear the Black exit or Blaxit, and it's not specific to Black people, I think it's anybody who's dissatisfied
No, but that's the
with
target audience.
how things unfold. But in that idea, what are your thoughts? Do we stay? Do you stay, or do you go? Do we go?
Stay if you're willing to fight, or sign your kids up for the fight. First of all, stay because it's your land. And the fact that they've tricked a lion's share of people into thinking, especially American Black people, to think that their ancestors are not from here, shows me that the technology and the trickeration has actually worked. Period.
But who the hell is from here, Craig?
Excuse me?
I 100% agree with you, but this, see, that's the other part where and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Craig, where I 1000% agree with you, dog. It's like, this is our land. This is our country. This is as much ours as it is anyone else's. So like when people say this notion of, well, if you don't like it, go back to where you came from. Well, if you don't like me fighting to make it a better place, or you don't like me fighting to make it a more just and equal place for everyone, then you can go to the hell back where you came from. Because everybody in this country, unless you're Native American, came from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And that Native American has been there's been a spin put on that over the years. Aboriginals are Aboriginals, and they look like Aboriginals. Period. So this is the one continent where the Aboriginals don't look like Aboriginals, or they don't have any. So yeah, the Aboriginals here, they've been tricked out of their name. They've been tricked into calling themselves all other names but everything what they are, indigenous Aboriginals. They've been tricked into Indian. They've been tricked into Negro. They've been tricked into Black. Yo, you were here first. Period. So it's basura. It is trash. I agree. So for me, it's like, yo, are you willing to fight? If not, go somewhere else where you can live your life. Because I could totally understand if, like, you look at this war and you don't want to sign up for this fight, because it might not be over in your lifetime. So I could understand if you don't want to spend the rest of your life doing it. Once you get intelligent enough to see that Deuteronomy 28 genocide is still going on you, my melanated people, then like you got to make a decision. Do you want to fight this battle or go live your life and enjoy it? Because you're either going to fight the battle or enjoy your life. You won't do both.
So I hear both of you loud and clear. I myself, I'm here for now. I think for me, there was a period in time, as you referenced, Mo, when we would go to diverse events and just people was kicking it. If you think about Outkast's 20th concert in Atlanta, it was a gang of just ethnicities and races and ages, and everybody just having a good time, united in song. When, not speaking to his credentials as a president, but it felt like when Obama was president, not because we had a Black president, just the theme, whether it was how life felt in Austin, it seemed like maybe we were progressing in a direction where Dr. King's dream would be realized in our lifetime. It felt like that. Today, I see a regression, and I'll talk later under Are You Entertained as to why I think we see a regression in our country. But for me, and Craig, we grew up in the same community. I grew up fearing murder, fearing that I would go to a football game and not make it home, fearing that I could go to school and not make it home. But that was specific to our community and just the unfortunate dynamics that unfolded in that space. Didn't see that that was the world, whether that was naivety or reality or something else. But today, it appears parade, park, picnic, church, movie, school. The whole country is unsafe. But instead of rising to an occasion to resolve it, the money in the NRA, and I've read something recently that they got some stuff going on in court. The money in the NRA, the money from the religious right is what's driving the lawmakers, who in turn don't make laws that make us better. And then you got marches in Tennessee of KKK or whoever they represent, Nazis. And granted, they small, granted, it was ridiculous, but they're still present. And now the Supreme Court is assessing whether or not people should be able to own automatic weapons and just this stuff, right? And for me, guns is a big issue, probably because I'm a parent, but it's not just that. It's the abortion rights, it's the women's rights, it's the, you ask Texans what's the number one issue in this election, and they say border protection. Why? Healthcare is down. What else? Education is down. Guns outnumber citizens at this point. You got, the economy is better, but it's not, it got room for opportunity. Jobs are better, but there's room for opportunity. But somewhere, somehow, Texans who at least are surveyed potentially vote, but the Texans that are surveyed say that the number one issue facing Texas is the Mexican border. To your point, Uncle Mo, everybody here is an immigrant. The Mexicans are coming to create the better life that America promises that it can give them. Granted, yeah, there's some bad actors. Yeah, some stuff going down in Mexico I don't want to talk about, right? Because I don't know what I don't know. Cartels and stuff like that. But so is true in Russia. So is true in China and Japan. There's gangsters all over the planet.
So it's true in America.
So it's true in America. It's gangsters all over the planet. But to a man, woman, and child, the majority come to seek opportunity. But what I believe to be connected to the level decline in education, people are easier to convince of the shenanigans. And so instead of seeing a country get better, find healing, it appears to be getting worse. I could be wrong, because the media is part of the problem. But so I myself, I'm here for now, but I don't know, because to stay does mean you are in for the fight. But there also comes a point when you recognize that the fight could be futile. And I channel Atlas Shrugged, great book. I'll look up the author in a second. It's an older book, and it different day and time, but mindset's the same. And in that book, you have people who said, we here for the fight, but they got beat down and got beat down and got beat down and got beat down and got beat down. And they said, you know what, I'm done. And at the point of saying I'm done, them other people came and got them and showed them what life could really be. It wasn't necessarily a paradise, but it was a place where the like-mindeds were able to share knowledge, to what was my strength became your strength, what was my weakness, somebody else helped solidify, and they found a place where they could exist and live life in a way that humans intended. So I don't know. I'm on the fence. Craig, you had something?
Yeah. Look, we are being, I feel that the population is being misdirected into thinking things has changed. Nothing has changed. Look back, if you have one of your old textbooks at them old MLK pictures, and instead of looking at MLK, look at the signs and the pictures in the background. He was asking for the same things then that we were asking for in the 80s when I got here, that they were asking for in 2020 when old boy got killed over a Lucy cigarette. Stop playing. We've been asked, like the signs in the background from the MLK marches, look at the signs asking for first-class citizenship, for an end to police brutality, right? To be treated as equals and end like that was he represented a platform. So if you look behind him, those signs had about 2 to 3 different issues that they all represented. And you know what? Between the 60s, the 80s, and the 2020s, we're still making signs requesting the same issues and concessions. Nothing's changed. I disagree 100% disrespectfully. Nothing's changed.
Something's
Nothing.
better. I mean, you can
better,
drink,
not change.
You can drink.
Like they just because they put a band-aid on it. Okay, that's the equivalent of one of my 12-year-olds in my 7th grade classroom coming in. They got, Mr. Lindo, you got a band-aid? You're not leaking. And a band-aid is for leaks, but the band-aid makes you feel better about your boo-boo.
What about the black billionaires and the interracial couples and you know, black people on TV and black home ownership? That's not indicative of different.
I'm gonna respectfully disagree with Craig on that notion because
I would love
also
to
feel,
respond, but okay.
yeah, I also feel, Craig, that we do an injustice to the people that did struggle for you and me and Carlton to be in the position that we're in. You know, their situation was a lot more, it was a lot more fucked up, in my opinion, than our situation is. And is, like I said, is there a long way to go? Yes, but has there been change? I do believe there's been change. Change is slow, though. Change is painfully slow, man. Like, it's painfully slow. I don't know, man. Somewhere in this country's path, they decided your right to own a gun is more important than our right to live life. You should never go to a parade or the grocery store or some of the places Carlton's talking about and worry that, I don't know, you're going to get your head blown off. You know, if you followed this show, you've heard me speak about the police before. And my solution to the police is, in order to change the policing in this country, you need to tear it down and just start over. Because the police in this country were established essentially as slave catchers, and that mentality hasn't changed. So, you know, that is an issue that is just an ongoing issue because of what, you know, the psyche of what they believe they are trained to do is the mentality of, we need to protect, you know, white people from black people. And as long as that mentality exists, I don't think you'll ever see any equality in the policing. There's been some police forces that actually did start over and they've made tremendous strides, but the majority of the police forces, I do believe, have that mentality of, our job is to protect white people from black people, no matter how much evidence we have that shows that white people are terrorizing black people.
Great.
I understand that the slave catcher origins of the police in general. But what I'm saying is the fact that generation after generation, we're still protesting for the same things. That tells you something. That goes back to a couple things that I probably said before on here. One, they give us crumbs and pieces of gingerbread to appease us and to get us to vote for them and lure us into a burning house that does not serve us, right? So that has happened, and we've seen it happen again. Joe Biden. He used Kamala to get all the Divine Nine into a burning house, and now what? The fact that we're still, after 100 years, asking for being policed the same as the white people should tell you something. The fact that the signs, not even a chance, the signs in the background of these marches in 2024, 84, and 64 all have the same themes. What are we talking about, dog? I'm sorry. They string you along enough to get you to get you to
like
switch.
For example,
parties.
though, like the Carlton point is you can read books now, dog. You can get an education. No one's stopping us from that.
Dog, that's always been there. Even when that other stuff, dog,
what was the penalty for reading it when slavery was around, Craig?
Dog, when they dominated the workforce because the other side didn't know how to do shit. The skilled workers were the former slaves. And therefore, organizations were created.
I'm talking about what Carlton's saying is there has been strides. Like if you wanted to marry a white
I'm not denying that
you could marry a white woman.
Nobody's denying that.
But you said it's the same issues.
It is.
Been some
there
issues
are
that
the
have
same
been resolved.
issues.
I mean, some things
they've been black
changed,
business owners from the rip.
I think collectively there are things
from before
in
this country and others.
There are things that have not changed. There are things that are very, very much the same. And there's things that are not.
Let's not get into why they promoted Martin over everybody else, but okay.
You're talking about why they promoted Martin Luther
because
King
he was talking about
peace.
Else. They didn't want to talk about Malcolm X, who was talking about
and Garvey, exactly. So
they didn't want to promote the Panthers, but at the same time, and I think Malcolm X realized this later on in life, and he embraced this later on in life.
Malcolm Huey and Marcus Garvey.
I do need to be this guy that terrifies these white people, and it gave credence. I agree with you. Like I've always said this. I don't believe Martin Luther King Jr. is as effective without the people you just mentioned, Craig, because those people terrified white America. Like they absolutely terrified white America, and
that's why they don't have a holiday or a statue.
But like I'm a person that believes, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. The problem in this country, and I was talking to someone about this, in politics, right? You always hear, we got to get the black vote. We got to get the black vote. We got to get the white vote. The vote that the Democrats really need to get in order to make some kind of impactful change so they can have the numbers they need to make to benefit more of this society is the poor white vote. The poor white vote, like Carlton, you said in Texas, what is the #1 issue again?
Border.
You know why? These people have got in their minds, they're convinced that these Mexicans are taking their jobs, which is the biggest crock of shit of all time. I've come to believe, dog, that neither one of these parties, the Democrats or the Republicans, are trying to get rid of these illegals at all. Think about it. Republicans tend to be backed by big corporations because these big corporations are looking for the corporate tax breaks that the Republicans offer them when they get into office, right? Who's hiring these illegals?
Correct.
These corporations, these big American corporations. The reason why they're hiring them is this is the new, essentially like sharecropping in my mind. They get to pay them a lesser wage. They don't have to pay them benefits. They get to pocket more profits. The Republican Party, though, what they do is to show the poor white people, like, I'm on your side. Yeah, I'm against immigration. I want to keep them out too because they are taking your jobs, when it's really the corporations that are headed by white people that are giving these jobs to the illegals. So it's that continuous lie that's being told to poor white people that allows them to maintain their power. Because like you said, what the hell are you talking about? How is that your #1 issue? How can that possibly be your #1 issue? You might be poverty stricken. Your kids aren't getting a quality education. You got to worry about this gun violence. You got to worry about, am I making enough money to sustain myself? But you somehow have come to think
Climate
that my
change.
number one issue is that Mexican man that's trying to sneak across the border to provide for his family because you've convinced yourself that he's somehow taking away from you when you've been poor.
One comment, and then I'll come to your question, Craig. So to your point, I don't know the term for asinine. You all are educators, but the asineness of it is border safety is the Republican issue is touted, but it is also the Republicans that did not pass the funding for the U.S. Immigration Customs
Carlton, doesn't that
Enforcement.
speak to my point?
And that's why I'm putting. That's why I'm
Carlton,
saying, because
if you solve the problem, allegedly solve it, now you can't use it as an issue to garner their votes anymore.
And it will result in the release of, I just had the number 11. Oh man, 11. Oh, I just had the number, but it because they have not passed the funding, it will result in the release of thousands of immigrants. So, that math ain't mathing. It's the number one issue, and the opportunity to provide the funding to enforce the number one issue. The party that touts that issue doesn't do it. So that's all. So Craig, you said you had a question.
I had two things. One, as a Texas resident, is that the number one thing in the news and the media, or when you are interacting with other Texas residents, does that come up?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. So
does he run in those circles?
Nah, because if it is really what they say it is, it ain't about the circles.
The
numbers are the numbers.
I don't interact with Texans too often, at least not the way I use.
So, that's a what, Craig?
Cop out.
No,
Craig is hot today.
So in the circle, in the places I go, because I'm a social person. So I used to go to sports bars. I used to go places to catch a game. I used to go places to kick it in between time. I don't do that as much anymore because of the energy that exists in these places now. So in these social settings, you hear all of it. You hear whatever Trump says is being said. Whatever Trump has said is an issue at the sports bar. If you just have your random conversations, that's going to be the issue that they talk about. I did have one recent conversation where this gentleman, he imparted knowledge. He appeared to be, he white man, and he was amongst people who I was familiar with that had these conversations. But me and him have conversation on the side, and he helped me see climate change differently. He said, they talk about plastics, they talk about this, but they don't talk about how damaging the batteries in electric vehicles are. They don't talk about how all these pools and all these man-made lakes putting more water in the atmosphere that wasn't naturally there, that ultimately will have impact on the climate. So those were just two examples. So it was enlightening conversation, but that in the last 5-6 years is more rare, where it used to be at least engaging general conversation. That's become more rare. So I answered your second question first. The media in Texas, I will have to tell you, I'm in Austin. So I lived in Houston, I live in Austin. So in those two cities, the media would probably be labeled as liberal, but I feel like they do their best to unbiasedly provide information. Especially, I've been in Austin longer than I was in Houston. I'm more grown in Austin than I was in Houston. So definitely in Austin, when I turn on the news, they reflect what's said. If Trump says something, they'll talk about it and they'll show what people voted. But I believe when the camera's off, they're like, these people are batshit crazy. but that's the vibe that I get, and that includes me occasionally watching Fox local news. So it is not, there's Fox National, there's they let go of Tucker Carlson, but there's the biased version of Fox, and then there's the local version of Fox. So I feel like the local news in Austin plays it as fair as possible, but they will show what the people are polling about. Did that answer your question?
I also think like another thing to be cognizant of, fellas, is the white liberal in this country can also be a detriment to the fight for equality. I'll give you an example, man. It's easy to say the word, like to Craig's point earlier, how we started the show, right? It's easy to be like, I'm for equality. I believe everyone's equal. I believe everyone deserves a just chance. I believe in justice for all. Like it's so easy to say that out your mouth, but then when those Black kids get zoned into your child's school, are you down for that, or are you fighting against that kid going to that school? So, that's the point where it's like your actions got to line up with your words. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's easy to be like, yeah, I believe in equality. But now when you see these Black babies zoned into your white school and they're going to be attending school with your kid, are you still cool? You still believe in equality? You cool with that? Or are you secretly going behind closed doors and fighting against those kids being commuted to that school? Like, right is right, wrong is wrong. People know what's right. People know what's wrong. We just need more people pushing in the direction of right, and not more people that are saying the right things, but they're actually doing the right things.
Yep. So, Craig, you got something to add?
Not something significant. I just want to say that the word conspiracy is one of those words that has been bastardized and gotten a bad rap over the years. If you have a population of 3 and 2 out of the 3 agree on an agenda, conspiracy is normal. Conspiracy happens. It just means that a certain percentage agrees on something that another percentage doesn't. It is not always nefarious. Secondly, the whole climate change thing, how that's been weaponized against people. We have empirical evidence that says some of the grasslands that are above ground now were once underwater, and some of the lands that are underwater now were once above water with thriving cities, depending on how far you go back, in not just centuries, but maybe eons or epochs, right? Because of the age of the planet. So that lets me know the climate has already been changing. Don't weaponize that shit against me to get my vote.
I have my own, I haven't validated this. I'm sure there's something that might support it, but I believe the earth is also so complex. If you think about what's holding us in place, gravity, distance from the sun, tilts and rotations, a slight tilt to the left, a slight under rotation to the right, don't do something. So I think there's just some natural dynamics that unfold.
But it's always been happening.
Right.
It is known that the poles flip after a certain amount of epochs anyway. It's always been happening.
But we also know
the climate has always been changing.
We also know it's a lot of plastic in the ocean. We also know that over the course of history, humans have made animals go extinct. We know that there's animals going extinct. So,
the plastic stuff is killing us.
That
doesn't cause the poles to flip. They were going to flip anyway.
Well, I look at that's environment, right? So climate change, global warming. I'm more environmentalist. The rainforest, decline in the rainforest does something. So, I like trees. I want to see the trees, so we are doing things to the environment. Is that why it's 80 degrees in February?
No, it's always been changing. Places that used to be desert are now forest. Place that used to be forest, now desert. Place that used to be sand is now ocean. You could go through sedimentation. The proof is empirically there. Just that we too lazy to study history in school, so we follow whatever they say on the TV and just be a sucker for whatever sentence they sell us. The environment has always been changing.
See,
What
I'm
about
no
the hole in the
scientist,
ozone?
and I'm not going to
Yeah,
even
Miss
sit here
Parslow
and
mentioned
tell
that in
you
6th grade.
that I
had
can
Miss
fully
Soltis.
comprehend it. But what I do know, and I'm pretty sure Craig will agree with this too, I do know that human beings are the most destructive force this world has ever seen, and we will continue to be that. So it's easy to believe that we are contributing to the demise of the planet. It just to what ends, I have no idea.
Got you.
I have no idea.
All right. So to the original question, stay or go, I would, if I surmise it, there's definitely, it's your choice. Stay, be ready for the fight, participate in the fight, understand that it's going to be a challenge and this life that we seek may not occur in our lifetime. Or try someplace else. If you can, go get it, but realize that if you are darker in skin tone, black, or perceived as black, or choose or brown, whatever that is, that it's a whole lot of discrimination across the planet. And so depending on where you go, you still may not be well received. Depending on where you go, corruption still exists. Did I
But
miss
also,
something?
like, just I want Black people in this country, especially African Americans, to always remember this is your damn country. Like, your people built this country. You have every right to this country and its vast wealth of resources as anybody else that lives in this country. Like, this is your country as well. So,
All right. So with that, we'll take a 30-second break and be right back.
Craig D. Molat. You are listening to
Welcome back. This is Unsolicited Genius. What in the sports? All right, gentlemen. So we did our Super Bowl show last week. Shout out. I'm sorry, never mind. I won't even go there. But in lieu of Super Bowl, we had All-Star Weekend. I'll start. I enjoyed Saturday, most of Saturday. I found it funny that the highlight of Saturday was the 3-point contest. When
whoa. The whole 3-point contest?
I mean, Steph versus,
my bad.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the one that Dame Time won.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. And there was a point in time in watching All-Star Weekend, I would have skipped it because of what the headliner to me was. And I guess technically it's still a headliner because it's the last event. But the dunk contest was lackluster. I mean, I think the person who deserved to win won, but you know, I'm already not a Celtics fan, but your boy with the fake D Brown, whatever he was doing.
Don't disrespect D Brown like that.
Whatever he was doing, that was ridiculous. But then the Sunday game, it was like, come on, man. Come on, man. So I got a couple questions related, but I'll stop there and open up to you all's reactions. First, if you watched it any of the weekend, what are your thoughts?
Mo, go ahead, bro.
No, you go, dog.
Okay. I lost interest in the dunk competition back in '92 when Cedric Ceballos won it.
Okay. But that's a long time ago. There've been some good ones since.
Because
why did you lose interest at that point?
he
It's
hasn't
a couple
had
things.
TV
One,
since '92.
around
Amish
then,
Craig,
you
baby.
could look at it. You could look at it, and around then, it had already started to fall off in '92, '93. By the time Cedric Ceballos and Harold Miner won it, it had already started to fall off. Vince tried to bring it back later, and that's cool. You know what I'm saying? Second thing, I was 14, 15. Nah, I'm not staying inside on that weekend trying to look at these dudes dunk. Either I'm going to work out on my own or I'm trying to hang out with somebody's daughter. I was 14, 15, 16. So nah, after 1992, very limited interest. I was after somebody's daughter or out trying to train myself. If I'm gonna be transparent with you, right?
I mean,
the All-Star game has been trash for a long time. Like, as far as this specific weekend goes, did I watch any of it live? No. I learned my lesson in '92. However, did I watch it, some of the stuff on the next day on YouTube? Yes, I did. And after I did, I was very glad I didn't watch it live. The only thing I regret missing live is Steph versus Sabrina. And I do think it's fantastic how the score after one round with her score after one round would have been competitive with the highest score out of all of the men's rounds that won it. And then Steph came along and got 3 points over everybody. I feel like there's a statement hidden in there somewhere.
Nah, he knows. He made the statement. He knows Steph is that dude. He like, I don't even have to get out there with y'all. Y'all, if I go, none of y'all win. So that's the statement.
Yeah. The All-Star game has been trash for a long time. I stopped watching it years ago. Like, remember in previous episodes, I'm sure I'm on record saying, hey, I don't pay previous episodes of Unsolicited Genius, even this season. I said, hey, I don't give a Friday about the NBA until after All-Star Weekend.
I thought it included it, but that's fair.
It's basura.
That's fair. Uncle Mo, if I'm not able to read your face, would you like to share your thoughts on the weekend?
I mean, the shit is trash. Like, the 3-point contest was easily the highlight. And then the Steph and Iniescu, she was awesome, man. Like, but for her to drop 26 and for Steph to know she put up such a high score and for him to just go out there and just casually drop 29, like, no matter what she did, he was going to drop one more than her, dog, or however many he needed. But the actual 3-point contest was live. Like, you had dudes tying at 26, competitive till the end. Like,
it was more interesting than a dunk.
Oh, dog, don't even that skills competition. Get the hell out. They're throwing a pass into something that looks like the ocean. Like, these are NBA players. It looks like
a couple of them missed. A couple of them missed.
And then you had one guy go out there.
My tryouts are harder than that.
He's right-handed. It's like, they're not taking it seriously. Why should I take it seriously? Then the dunk contest. And I'm going to help Amish Craig out here. One, Amish Craig hasn't watched it since '92 because they don't believe in electricity. You don't have TV. So that would be one reason. The other reason is, to his point, after '92, the dunk contest that I enjoyed the most, Kobe in '97, Vince Carter in 2000. I thought the Dwight Howard one in 2008 was good. And
that one surprised me.
Then the Zach LaVine versus Aaron Gordon in 2015 and 2016 was awesome. The rest of them have been absolute garbage. And one of the reasons why they've been trash is because you have people that nobody knows who the hell they are competing out there. Doc, Mac McClung, and shout outs to him for winning the dunk contest back-to-back. He plays for the Osceola Magic, not the Orlando Magic, the Osceola Magic, dog. And they're bringing him out of the G League or giving him 10-day contracts to compete. And you know who I blame for this? I blame LeBron. LeBron refuses to compete in this contest because he's scared that he's not going to win it and he doesn't want to deal with the backlash of that. So none of these guys compete in the dunk contest anymore. I also think they're just out of ideas, man. Like what's been out there has been done, and I don't think they have any more ideas for it. Like I said, the skills challenge to me is embarrassing. Like them passing into that. Like who the hell wants to sit there and watch them pass into that huge bucket that they're throwing the ball into?
The skills challenge, Dwayne Wade. I don't know. Remember when the skills challenge got introduced, but I know D Wade competed in one. If it was the first one or early one, it looked challenging, and it looked like they were actually applying some skill. But the back and forth with the team and the passing and the 6 points and the 5 points and the running back and forth, and then more points for a chest pass versus a bounce pass. I'm like, what? I don't know what we're talking about.
And then that trash-ass all-star game they give us where the East scores 211 points. It's like, come on, dog. Like, no one... We watch sports because we love competition. If there's no competition, it's not even a sport to me. So I'll be 100% honest with you. I did not watch the All-Star game. I refused to watch the All-Star game. Me and Kamaria sat there and we were binge watching. Y'all know my show, Criminal Minds, baby. I'm on season 17. And so I've almost caught up because season 17 is fairly recent. There should be a season 18 coming out. And I just watched that, man, because I'm not gonna watch a basketball game where a team scores 200 points, dog. Yeah, I'm just not.
Yeah.
Can I share something with you real quick?
Yes,
there was this organization that rented a school that and because they're nonprofit, they get a discount, but whatever. So this organization has this little recreational Saturday basketball thing going on, and because a part of their demographic includes the age group that I teach and coach at the school, and I was already at the school site that they're renting, they figured, hey, if they get me to come out there, there'll be more kids from the school plus kids from my team and this, that, and the other. And they offered me, on their per hour basis, a little bit more than their other coaches. I'm like, okay, let me see what's up. I'm coaching basketball. Honestly, I wound up doing it for free. So you're going to pay me for it on a Saturday morning, even better. Dog, I show up out there. So halfway into the first quarter of my very first, I got my first group of kids that have never, because most of these kids never played before. It's their first time in any kind of organized ball. So the skill set is, and they start from age like 5, 6, right? It didn't take long for me to realize that I would never come back, because by the time I got to my second game, the guy over the entire of that particular franchise at that location comes to me and say, hey, you can't press, you can't pick up from half court, you could only pick them up at the 3-point line, like quarter court defenses and this and that. Like, dog, he told me I wasn't allowed to play defense. That goes against everything. There's no amount of money you could pay me to tell kids to not play defense. Even though he offered me double what the other coaches out there were getting, I couldn't stand out there and teach kids not to play defense on any age group, any level. Philosophically, that junk goes against every atom, photon, electron, neutron in my body. Every quark was disturbed by that idea. So for me to watch this all-star game, or if I was to watch this all-star game, I would explode, bro.
I refuse to watch it, dog.
I would explode.
And then the dunk contest. One, Mac McClung can jump out of this world, man, because he legitimately jumped over Shaq, which was impressive. But Jaylen Brown,
two people.
Jaylen Brown had a guy that was a YouTuber who's like looked to be 5'2", sit in a chair. He didn't even let him stand. He had him sit in a chair. Then he jumped over him and he forgot to cover his eyes like D Brown.
Messed
he did
up
it
the
afterwards.
D Brown.
Jaylen Brown, to me, embarrassed himself in this dunk contest. And for some reason, they kept giving him high scores.
I would like to point out something with him, though. I'd like to point out something with him. is he not still, if not the president, on the executive board on the NFL Players Association?
On the NFL, you mean the NBA?
NBA.
NBA Players
I don't know,
Association.
man. I thought
Yes.
he accounted poorly for himself in this.
That
No,
way,
what
you
I'm
know,
saying is,
I
if
just
the
thought about
president
this.
of the NFLPA has to go out there because no other name brand players are going out there, that tells you something. He went out there on being a company man. He know he ain't no dunk contest guy. He was just trying to do what he do for the company.
He was also to Uncle Mo's, or both
He's
of
the
you, I
vice
think, made this
president.
point. He was the biggest name too, right?
He was. I give him credit for at least going out there, but it wasn't good.
He did not encourage others who have sat out to want to participate.
They didn't even give us Obi Toppin. They gave us Obi Toppin's brother. Most people don't even know who the hell Obi Toppin is, much less who his brother is.
Hey,
tough.
Is Obi still playing?
Yes. Who was the other guy?
But I'm saying I know Obi was still playing either.
I don't know if I knew anybody besides Jalen Brown.
I thought Obi was out of there too.
The whole weekend
because you know
other
Obi
than
been
the
making noise in
3-point
them
contest,
games, right?
it just sucked.
So that leads into my question: sports today versus our version of yesterday. Because there were all-star games that were competitive. There were dunk contests and three-point contests that were competitive. But I even bring into this discussion football. You know, baseball, I don't have as much of a yesterday, today vantage point. You know, I played baseball, I watched the Marlins, but, you know, maybe one of you might have a context to include regarding these American sports. Soccer is still soccer on the global scale. I'm sure there's some stuff there, but when I watch soccer still look wow. But at least basketball, football, what's different? What's going on? What are we seeing as we watch these sports that we still love, we still watch, but there is a difference? What is that difference?
Well,
Craig, I see you with the money sign with the
the
Tommy
money.
DeVito.
Like, they get paid so much, but you know what I'll say is the thing that's changed in football from when we were kids and watching it. And I don't want to be the guy like that's get off my lawn, but the only thing that's really changed to me about football is the rules. Like football is a sport, dog, because of the way it's structured and the money's not guaranteed. The players have to go out there and give full effort for two reasons. One, they'll cut your ass and you won't get the full extent of your contract. Two, and Carlton knows this from playing the game because I didn't play tackle football. You go out there trying not to get hurt. That's usually when you get messed up pretty bad. Like you have to go all out in football. So I don't think football has that issue. Basketball, though, the problem with basketball is this load management shit. Like that shit has just gone way too far. And I'm glad they're taking steps to correct it because there is no proof that this load management keeps you from not getting injured at the end of the year. Who's the poster boy for load management, Craig?
Kawhi Leonard.
And what does Kawhi Leonard end up being at the end of every playoff run, Craig?
50 out of 82 games every season or less.
And then he's out in the playoffs. It's not working. It's not working. You know why it's not working? Because if you tell your body, I'm going to play one game of basketball, then I'm going to take 4 days off. Now that you have to go every other day, your body's not used to it. So you get injured. Like, and we are all people that love that these young athletes are getting paid. They deserve their money. They bring eyeballs to the TV. They fill the stands. They deserve every penny that they make. I took a Johnny a couple of years ago to see the Warriors play. And it's because I wanted to see Steph Curry and Clay and Draymond. None of those mofos played in the game.
How many of them?
None of them.
Yeah.
So I ended up at a Hawks Warriors game, and I'm just like, I'd rather be anywhere else in the world right now. Like,
is that the game I got my birthday message? You remember you gave you the chili?
Yes,
gave me my
when I was hot, dog. It's like that doesn't happen to you if you go to a football game because they're not resting their players like that. And it's a much more violent sport. Baseball, that's the beauty of baseball to me is baseball is still pretty much the same game as it was when Babe Ruth was playing. Technology got better, players are better athletes and all that shit, but it's still like a guy's throwing the ball. There's a guy with a wooden stick sitting there and he's trying to hit the ball. So, I love one of my favorite things to do, man, in life is to take a Johnny to the Braves games because I just like going to baseball games, man. I like everything about it, dog. I like getting the hot dog. I like getting the drink. Johnny has a gift for always getting a foul ball or getting someone to give. Dog, he's gotten like 10 foul balls, Carlton.
Oh, man. I'm jealous.
One time the Mets player saw him, and I just had him on my shoulder. The Mets player at the end of the inning walked over to him and just handed him the ball.
Oh, Khalil ain't getting nothing.
He's gotten like 10 legit foul balls, either given to him by players or the groundskeepers have looked out for him, security's looked out for him. He has a knack for it, man. But, that's just something that I don't think I'll ever stop doing with him is going to baseball games. I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah, there's a Round Rock Express is the minor league team here. I think they feed the Rangers, I believe. But pre-COVID, we would go at least once a year. Because as much as I'm not a baseball historian, I don't claim, to have that experience with it. I enjoy a live baseball game. In fact, my father and I, we didn't go to football or basketball games, but we went to see the Marlins a couple of times. So I do.
We go from anywhere to 10, 15 Braves games a year, dog. For sure.
Okay. That's tight.
10 to 15. I even took him to a World Series game, man. Like that was a bucket list thing for me. To do it with him was like amazing. So,
Craig, you got a perspective on the subject at hand, the sports today versus yesterday?
Yes, I do. It goes back to me doing this. First of all, shout out like what I've come to appreciate about baseball. I abhor watching it on television. I enjoy watching it in person because it's one of the few things that you can catch up with an old friend and speak nonstop and still not miss any action because the game is that slow.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it in person, but I don't like watching it in TV because I would rather go outside and watch grass grow than watch it on TV. All right. But as far as
Craig,
NFL
you're so right,
NBA,
dog. It's so much better in person than it is on the TV. Like he's so right about that, dog.
If I care about the team, the Marlins, playoffs, I can watch a baseball game from start to finish and enjoy it. But I agree with both of you. A random game live, I can do all day long.
Like he said, dog, you could literally just be chilling there in the crowd, kicking it, talking, and still like listening to the sound of the bat hit the ball. Like it's just a million times better. It's a sport that's a million times better in person.
Yeah,
it is. But as far as NFL and NBA, look, there is a natural evolution that was going to come as the money went up, as the TV deals came in. When I was making $1 billion and it cost me $30,000 for a player, you could hack him all you want and you could be physical all you want. But now that I got to pay this player $40 million a year, the rules have gotten softer in both sports because the money's gone up. When these players were more expendable because they were cheaper, remember when some of your favorite players in the offseason were insurance salesmen and postmen? Oh, no, you'd have to be Gen X to remember that. But okay. There was a time when your favorite player in the offseason was selling insurance, a garbage man, or he had another job. You know what I'm saying? So when the price went up on these individuals, now that I got to cut a $40 million check and even his practices are insured, the rules have changed. The game has gotten different. Some may even say softer. I happen to remember, by the way, I went by our old middle school the other day. It's 2024. there are still no 3-point lines on the court.
That's that rough concrete, boy. That's that concrete you
And
do
I like
not
to
want to
remember
fall on.
back to that same era where if you settled for a distant shot, they called you an Oreo. That's sincere. That's what happened. So,
No,
what I'm
that
saying
out.
is the game has changed as the money went up, the rules changed. So the game is nothing like and that's part of the reason why I have an issue with people comparing across eras, because they're not the same. They're
The game is
not playing
definitely
with the same
softer
rules.
now.
They're not playing with the same rules.
The game is
So-
softer. Craig is right about that, and it's also geared more towards offense. Like it's geared more
Both
towards
sports.
points because of fantasy, and they think that's what entertaining. But you know,
And also, you can't undercut my $45 million a year guy.
yeah, it's an
Besides
asset
fantasy,
protection
you can't
thing.
do that.
But
Think about what you just said. You went somewhere and the stars weren't there for you to see them when you paid.
the other part of it though is I don't. Football is an inherently violent sport. There's no way to take the violence out of it. Basketball though is the one that like drives me more crazy, man. Because I didn't mind those games in the '90s that were 88 to 87, and if you wanted to go into the paint to get a layup, you knew that you were about to take a beating if you wanted those points. And if you had the heart, you just kept coming back. Like, you know, some people might not have liked it, but man, like I love those Heat Knicks rivalries in the '90s. I was a big fan. Bulls Knicks. It was just a way more physical game back then. And now, dog, teams are scoring like 125 points. That's what they're averaging, and they're giving up like 116, and the top defense is like giving up 111, and
Yeah.
it's just
Remember when
it's
the
just
top
jacking
defense
up
had
threes.
that Knicks team wouldn't let you over 90. That Patrick Ewing and
Xavier McDaniel,
that you
Charles
couldn't get
Oakley,
90.
Starks, Derek Harper.
You
They
was
beat
lucky to
your
get
ass.
85.
The Pistons, the bad boy Pistons.
That's why I said what I said before about the All-Star game. Like my whole DNA, you told me, this man told me I'm not allowed to teach these kids defense.
I
can't live that in any way, shape, or form, not even as a viewer. Sorry, Mo.
You watch the game now and you see it's a lot of isolation, man. It's a lot of one-on-one. I'm going to dribble for 15 seconds, then I'm going to take a step back three. And I always love basketball, so of course I watch, but it's not, I hate to say this, man, but I do feel like it's just not as enjoyable to me as it was when we were
just go ahead and
up.
say, get off my lawn.
I don't want to say that because I love to play. I'm like you, Craig. Like I messed around on Saturday and I was like, I'm gonna go hoop. And I went into that gym and I balled for 4 hours. I ran 5 games of 21. I ran 4 full courts, and my body still hurts today. And Chick is always like, dog, you're crazy. Keith is like, you're crazy. But I love the game. Like I love to play the game, but to watch it, like, dog, it's just like, I don't know, man. To see a team score 140 points and lose by double digits, that's like crazy to me.
Yeah. No.
Mo, did I tell you that there was a point, especially before the pandemic? I don't do it as often now. I was riding around my county and just running up on strangers, talk about, hey, are you good? And depending on their answer, I'll challenge them to a one-on-one. Like either on my car or on my bike, I go to different parks in the city of Miramar. And in some cases I taped it and I just challenge random people to a one-on-one. And usually it was a best of 5 or a best of 7. And I actually wound up getting some good conversation out of it, which I think I maybe be able to turn some content, but I enjoyed that. I don't like all this LeBron versus Jordan talk. Can you beat me? I'm more interested in that.
I love to play. I'm a very competitive person. Like I get into shooting contests all the time. Like if you want to play, I'm willing to play, you know, as long as my body's willing. Man, I got this heel spurt Dog, that is killing me. Oh my God, dog.
Yoga. Yoga.
Dog, that's
Good.
not gonna fix a heel
Change it.
spur. I gotta go to a doctor or something.
Generally speaking, fair enough. I have no solution for a heel spur, but all that other stuff, prepping your body, recovering your body, healing your body.
You know what I did?
Yoga.
When we ran full court, I found the dude that was the other thing that annoyed me, and Keith was making fun of me about this. Shout out to our boy Keith. Man, all these young kids are calling me OG. That shit messes with me, dog. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it at all.
Yeah, I was in a venue, and a gentleman, he bumped into me. You know, it was
Sorry,
accidental.
OG.
He said, "My bad, OG," and I was like, "Oh,
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like it at all.
I like it.
I don't like it.
Now we gotta
I'm
fight.
not embracing it.
You
I'm
were
not
polite,
embracing it.
but we still gotta fight. Like,
But
who are you
dog, when we were
talking to?
running full court, I found someone that was my age, and I was like, "Hey, listen, bro, let's take it easy." I was like, "I got a bone spur." He looked at me and goes, "Dog, my back's killing me, my knees killing me." I was like, "All right, we're like-minded. We're like-minded."
Well, so I guess what I'll say in our topic, sports today versus yesterday, is you gentlemen have imparted insight on me that I didn't necessarily include, because I think the judgment in me just looked at all of these cats like they soft. But I think, to your point, NFL football, you can't be soft. The rules have changed. And with all the money that is flowing through these industries, it's just certain things that capitalism can't have happen. You know, the fights that the Knicks, the Heat, Charles Barkley, whoever he played for would get into, you lose money that way. That costs you money. The injuries in the NFL, if you think about some of the more tragic ones, you know, it still happens, but the rate at which they happen, the things we would see unfold with necks and backs and things of that nature, not even just concussions, but, you know, the wide receivers used to get laid out. Running lock was hard on the wide receiver. And
Steve
so
Atwater, like all them boys.
Yeah, you're not going to encourage the youth. There's not going to be youth leagues forming, but you have those kind of things happen.
I could never say a football player soft, Carlton, because even nowadays I see some of those hits and I look at my wife and I say, if I ever got hit like that, I'd just retire after that play. I would get up and be like, "Hey, fellas, I'm out." And they're like, "For the game?" I'd be like, "No, my career. I'm going to go do something else."
Yeah, I don't imagine a world where I would look forward to having to tackle Derrick Henry. It's not going to happen.
I don't want to get hit by these boys.
Nah, I'm in the booth doing stats. I wouldn't even try out. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm with Craig, dog. Like you could have a permanent injury that changes the whole course of your life playing football.
Yeah, no,
dog. I don't want to drool involuntarily. I'm good.
Yeah, I don't want to eat out of a tube. Like I don't want to do none of that.
I'm so good.
All right, there's some of us that still have kids that play. There's some of us that still have kids that.
Dog, you know, and I've told Carlton this, dog. The one sport that I haven't exposed my son to in terms of playing is football. He plays soccer, baseball, basketball. He swims. He does any of that stuff. I'm gonna introduce him to tennis and golf, but I'm not introducing him to football. If he tells me he wants to play, I'll let him play.
Let me tell you about the hypocrisy in Uncle Mo. He comes visit me in Houston. Khalil, what was he? Maybe 2. And he comes to my house when I'm living in Houston. All right, let's play football. Let's play football. He throws the football at Khalil, and like Spider-Man on the wall, Khalil said, and both of us looked like in shock because it was like a legit pass. And he caught it and
I remember.
Therein lies.
But dog, I play football with my son in the living room where I throw him the ball just like I did to Khalil and he'll catch it. But I'm not signing him up to play Pop Warner football. Like, dog, you can see him, Carlton. He'll run around and he'll throw the ball to himself. He'll catch it and he'll just fall to the ground. And the other day I was like, dude, why you keep falling to the ground? He's like, I got tackled, Daddy. I said, okay, man. I said, all right, you got
Well,
time.
that's one of the first things you gotta learn how to do is fall down. But I get you, dog. Like I got, I just happen to be in a community where I will, I tend to have children of former athletes, and there's a significant amount of them that don't allow their kids to play any form of tackle until 8th grade or high school.
Yeah,
I mean,
Like
Carlton didn't
I
let
before
dig
them,
that.
it's
Khalil
all
play tackle.
before that point, it's all
Yeah.
flag or flag and track, flag and track, flag and track. And then after they reach to a certain point, they're like, okay, we'll upgrade you from calisthenics to weights and we'll let you play football.
Yeah, he stayed in flag till 7th grade. He didn't do tackle, but even then, it's still a gentler introduction than what I
Right.
had at age 10, where we were doing what's the Oklahoma drill or whatever they
Yeah.
call
Shit,
it.
you
Yeah.
had 2-a-days by age
Yeah,
12, dog.
I was
There's
10.
no 2-a-days no more. They're not
I
doing
was
2-a-days.
10. Yeah. All right. So
Let me say this: the one brother I know that like had an actual NFL career. He encouraged his son to be a long snapper or nothing.
yeah, no, it's real. No, I got a homie here that played through college, and he speaks of his passion for the game. He grew up playing and he wanted to play it. Had the NFL been an opportunity for him, he for sure would have taken it. But the toll on his body, the toll on his mind, the toll that it took, he's like, it's not. You got to want it, and he encourages his son. His son has an interest, so he supports his son's interest. But he's very clear, it's not a game for the faint of heart, and it'll tear you up. So, all right, are you entertained? So, in what you're listening to, typically we talk about what's new, what's hot. We definitely gotta come back to celebrate Killer Mike's Grammy Awards and all the things that his album is. But for today, let's talk favorites. We sometimes do tops, but so much ambiguity, so much personal preference in tops of the tops. But thought for today, what are your favorite hip hop verses? Last time we talked producers, we talked beats. What are some of your, when you think hip hop, or when you're done twiddling your thumb, whistling Dixie, what verses come to mind? Start with you, Uncle Mo.
I go to Andre 3000, his verse on Elevators, where he talks about got stopped at the mall the other day. That's
Smoke
just
some.
smokes up, man. My favorite part of that verse is when he says, I live by the beat like you live check to check.
Yeah.
Just letting,
Facts. Yeah.
he does such a great job of letting you know, like, I'm a person too. And like, I'm no different than you, man. So, I love that verse. My other Andre 3000 verse that I love is on Goody Mob's Black Ice. And the way he starts that verse, man, is, with the friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your eardrums. And then he depicts the colors and he drops dilapidated wood. Like, who drops dilapidated in a rap song? That's one of my all-time favorites as well. What else do I have here, man? CeeLo, shout out to our producer, Joe Nitty. His verse on Cell Therapy, where he talks about, sometimes I wonder if they put the gate up to keep crime out or keep our ass in. I mean, he just destroys that verse, man. Just absolutely kills it. I know Craig will like this. On Naysayers Bleed Like Us, Biggie Smalls. Naysayers is not the word I'm really trying to use, but y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The verse where he talks about Arizona Ron, who pushed from Tucson, who pushed the Black Yukon.
That's a great. That is. So I did all the songs you listed hot. That 3 stacks, but that Biggie, the way he tells that story, and then the way he ends it.
The verse that I like, the one where he talks about Arizona Ron, my favorite part is when he says, Now we feel undefeated. He mean it. Nothing to lose, tattooed around his gun wounds. Everything, the game, embedded in his brain. And me, I feel the same for this money and diamonds, especially if my daughter crying. I ain't lying. Just hard, man. Just an amazing verse. Jay-Z on Can I Live? The one that he ends with, so I keep one eye open like CBS. You see me stressed, right? That is one of my favorites. Tupac's first verse on White Man's World. I'm a big fan of that song, fellas, because I love how introspective he is on the song when it comes to the Black woman, and he's acknowledging how he's guilty in the treatment of the Black woman too in the song. You know, my favorite part is when he
Wonder
says,
why they call you
to,
bitch. I bet you.
but my favorite part in that song is like you said, that is apologies to my true sisters, far from bitches. Like, you know, just it's so introspective. I love it. I love it. And you know, recent one, man, J. Cole on Johnny P's Caddy on
That's
Benny
on
the
my
Butcher's
list.
song. The
That's
verse
on my
is
list.
just
Yeah.
absolutely ridiculous. God, the way he starts it is crazy. On the night I was born, the rain was pouring, God was crying, lightning struck, power outage, sparks was flying. The real one here, the young boy that walks with lions. It's like, who starts a song like this? So like that is crazy to me, man. So you know, there's more obviously because I love rap, but those are just some of the ones that came to mind when I was posed with this topic, man. Oh, for women, I think Nicki Minaj's verse on Monster is a hard verse. And another woman's verse that I absolutely love is Lil' Kim's verse on the Quiet Storm remix. With Mobb Deep. You know, when she's like, bitches suck to get to the top.
She brought it.
So love it. Love it.
That
love
Nicki
it, love
Minaj, you know, it's so interesting. I don't own, download any of her albums, but to just know whatever she does, has done, or will do, that something like that monster verse existed in her. And to there's another podcast called Dissect, if you haven't heard it, check it out, where he breaks down Kanye's albums, or he breaks down albums, and Twisted Dark Fantasy is one of them. And to understand the backdrop that went into Nicki Minaj doing that verse, like she said, I had to prove myself. And
she's on the track with like Jay-Z and Kanye,
Rick
and she
Ross
definitely proved
Kanye,
herself.
Yeah, she did it.
Hey, real quick, Carlton, before you go, that part on J. Cole's verse on Johnny P's Caddy where he says, if you want me on a song, you're gonna see the wrath of the Reaper. I'm probably gonna go to hell if Jesus asks for a feature. It's like, just, dog, J. Cole, people talk so much shit, but lyrically, like, I don't see what you don't like. I just can't see what you don't like.
You know, when he first came out,
he didn't let Nas down.
When he first came out, you know,
hard song too.
I heard him, but I didn't listen to him. But once I started listening to him, yeah, it's cold. It's a cold world. It is a cold, cold world. And something's transitioned in him too. You know, in the last couple of years, to talk about energy early in the show. He's gone Kobe Bryant, right? Like there was a Kobe Bryant that came in the league, and you know, he was figuring stuff out and he got in some trouble, blah, blah, blah. But the Kobe that won the ships, the Kobe that retired, there was a transition in intensity. And it's like J. Cole not worried about what everybody else talking about. He's getting on these tracks and he's honed in on his craft. He don't care what he look like. You know, it ain't about that stuff. I'm an artist. Get me on this track and I'm gonna go in.
I mean, he even give a shout out to your religion, man, when he said collecting his bread and mass like he a Catholic preacher. It's like, this dude is ridiculous.
So Dissect actually, I think, is on Instagram too. And so
entendre.
that's a triple entendre that he got going on in that particular section of that verse. So Craig, you got some songs, some verses you want to share?
Bruh, I kind of wish my phone ran out of power before you asked me this, because my commitment issues lead me to hesitate to articulate for fear that I might deviate from the true course of rectitude. What I'm saying is, I might say something now and forget to say something that I'm gonna regret it later, because, dog, again, I always talk about my coming to America experience. There's been nothing, the only thing as powerful as hip hop in my coming to America experience is television. And that's debatable. Hip hop might be more powerful. You know what I'm saying? That being said, man, I have to start out by quoting one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite MCs. That would be Treacherous MC from Naughty by Nature. My boy Tretch said, I can't be given a beep because giving is free and my beeps cost. What are we talking about, dog? I heard that changed my life. I loved it. And then I got Slick Rick with you remember the Indian girl story? Like, that was great. An adult story, of course. It was not an album cut. Like, and then Jay-Z with 22s. Love that. And then my melody, when Rakim dropped my melody and dropped the 3 times 7 multiplication in the rhyme. Take 7 MCs, put them in a line, add 7 more brothers that think they can rhyme. Well, it would take 7 more before I go for mine, and that's 21 MCs ate up at the same time. I loved it. Like, all of that had me. When Tupac dropped that song, Papa Song, I related to that. It's not really a popular, like I said, again, my background is more a backpacker than anything else. Like, I learned the commercial shit so I could keep up in conversation with everybody else, but I was never really Mr. Commercial. So for me, like the Papa Song, guys like Kwame, Naughty by Nature, Fuji Rap Polo, like I remember these guys that were like putting real pen to paper, and like even something as simple, not as much as a lyrical miracle as some of these other guys I just mentioned, but I remember the first Damn verse by Youngbloods. Remember? They calling me to come back to the streets. Y'all remember that?
Oh yeah.
Youngbloods, they had a song called Damn, that opening verse. That
I know
verse
what you're talking about,
fire.
Craig.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
you talking about out of
me, like,
Atlanta?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got you. I'm
they
with
calling
you.
me to come back to the streets.
Their first
Man, that boy
album was
ate
tight.
that first verse up.
AKA,
Their first
that
album
beat.
was tight.
Oh yeah,
So,
that first album's hard.
Like I don't know what I'm hesitate to articulate and say what my favorite verse is, because as soon as we stop recording, I'm gonna remember my favorite verse.
Yeah, it's not. You know, it's not we're not holding you to it. It's not the tops. It's just, you know.
Off the top of my head, those are some of them, dog.
I forgot too that I have to mention, dog. I forgot Nas on Verbal Intercourse. Raekwon's album is an all-time like great verse to me. Also, Inspect the Deck on Triumph. When he starts it off with I bomb atomically, Socrates' philosophies and hypotheses, like he just kills that shit. So I just forgot to mention those two when it's my turn. But those two, like, just absolutely love them, dog.
All right. So great list.
Winter Wars. Sorry.
Okay. Yes.
All right. Well, you know,
got a lot of crucial verses.
I do have my bias. We've talked hip hop. I grew up on Booty Shake. I did not know no better things, and so my way in is from a different vantage point in hip hop. You know, I came around to Wu-Tang later, Nas later. So, you know, I don't name everybody. This is an exhaustive list, but for me, so Biggie is his whole song, but that first verse on My Downfall, you know, when he say, I dream filthy, my moms and pops mixed me with Jamaican rum and whiskey. Like that, I was like, what did he say?
The hell? That's an arrest waiting to happen.
Y'all know who filled them. Y'all know who killed them, filled them with the Lugers from their Rugers or they desert. That whole first verse like set the tone. It's dark, But the way I could just see Biggie in the studio, eyes closed, lean back, and just spitting. Big
He got
Boy's
a million verses that I love, dog.
Big Boy, that Miss Jackson. Like Big Boy got a lot. But when he said, "You and your girl ain't speaking no more," because my fill in the blank all in the map, like that was like the exclamation point on a whole lot of relationships, especially at that stage in life. And so for Big Boy to just find a way to put that in the verse and just simplify like regular people language, I thought that was fire. I got a whole list of 3 stacks, but when he to know what the club banger, I guess, that Walk It Out was, and everybody was walking it out, but then Outkast hopped on the remix, and 3 Stacks say I walk it out like an usher, and then he proceeds to devastate, to change the whole connotation of the song when he said I walk
Changed
it
the
out,
whole
I walk
chorus.
it out, I walk it out. That was, we talking favorite verses, not best verses, but that is one of my favorite verses. I can listen to that over and over and over again. Eminem on Jay-Z's Renegade.
Which one? Which verse? Which verse?
Both,
I like
all of
both.
them. All of them. They, they held him under the holy water.
That's my favorite one, dog.
Like that. People say Nas said Eminem killed Jay-Z. I don't feel like he killed Jay-Z, but because I feel like Jay-Z had an excellent, he did his thing. He did Jay-Z on that song. Eminem just took it someplace else.
Yeah, there's a couple of affirmative action credits on that.
Go to war with the Catholics. No wonder they try to. Oh, he
and
killed
then
that
y'all both know Tupac is still my favorite rapper, and I get lyricist. He would not be where Biggie is, Nas is in terms of lyrics. I'm an energy person, but I feel like on my Mind Made Up, when he was with Method, Daz, Redman, and he said, so mandatory, my elevation, my lyrics like orientation, so you can be more familiar with the nigga you facing. Like that small little verse, Tupac showed me that he could spit. Like, yeah, I do Brenda's Got a Baby, I do Dear Mama, I do Hit 'Em Up. I bring all the emotion into the song, but you put me on with some lyricists, it's my album, I'm gonna drop some lyrics on it. Then Ice Cube on Gangsta Gangsta. I talk about NWA being what founded,
No Vaseline.
what changed my perspective on life. Craig, you talk about when you came to the country, the things that you hear. Like I heard rap, MC Hammer, Kool Moe Dee, Yo MTV Raps, all that stuff. I participated in some fashion or form. But when NWA got introduced to me, like it changed everything. And Ice Cube just, here's a little something about it like me. Never should have been let out the penitentiary. And what was the beauty with Ice Cube is lyrically, the words were simple. They were standard. They weren't a whole lot of, they weren't triple entendres. But what he said, how he said it, and the emphasis to which he said it, it was just so much power. We talked J. Cole already. I thought his verse on The Lot with 21 Savage was super duper hot fire. Like I don't, 21 Savage and him was homies, so I know he didn't do it to destroy 21 Savage, but I felt like, 21, like there's no comparison. And then the last one, we don't talk here, I don't think he gets enough props, but Corrupt on Lyrical Gangbang. When he starts, I fears no one, I makes him cool off like a polar cap, flinching as the hit misses the baller's back. And then it just continues. Again, for me, it was the ferocity. It was, we didn't know who he was. We didn't know what he looked like. The Chronic was the introduction into a whole lot of, it was an introduction into Death Row. We knew Snoop, but we didn't know who all these other people were. And so for Corrupt to just come in and just devastate, to me, that was power. That was fire.
Man, I get some other honorable mentions for you, man. Biggie's verse on with Bone on Notorious Thugs is just filthy. Do y'all remember the I Shot You remix with
Yes.
LL Cool? Dog, Keith Murray's verse on that song,
Yeah.
just to give you a portion of it. I represent intellectual violence and leave your click holier than the Ten Commandments. Like Redman, I shift with the rough. If your if was a spliff, we'd be all fucked up. Like Keith Murray is one of the most underrated lyricists in rap history.
For sure.
Underrated lyricist in rap history, dog.
You know, that took me to DMX on LL Cool J 4321.
He stole the whole song.
When we didn't know, I didn't know who DMX was, but when he came in, like we knew who he was from that point forward.
Run it, clown. I would like to bring up something a little bit more as an honorable mention. And I do think that one, even though it's a mid-2000s song, if you listen to it today, the way it's written, it'll still be relevant. The artist is Joe Budden, and the name of the song is Love, I'm Good.
Can I be honest?
I don't know.
You heard the
I
song?
couldn't name a Joe Budden song. So
Yep.
I appreciate. I know he's
Love, I'm
relevant.
Good.
I know he's relevant in the game. I ain't taking nothing away from Joe Budden, but again, where I go, I wasn't there. So
I would say this: the first album, like, so the wordplay on "Pump It Up" let me know that there was something there. So I went and investigated. Otherwise, there's a lot of guys with hits that I didn't investigate, but "Pump It Up," there was some wordplay in it. I'm like, I hear a poet here, so let me check it out. And then when I got on the album, like "Pump It Up" wasn't even my top 3 on that album. "Stand Up" was above that. 10 Minutes was above that. Like, there's at least 3 songs on that debut album that was better to me, especially lyrically, than "Pump It Up." "Pump It Up," he sat on that Just Blaze track. He got the right track for that flow that he delivered on that song. But as far as quality, relatable to the man in the mirror content, Calm Down reminded me, Calm Down touched a chord with me, which was on that album. 10 Minutes, which was literally a 10-minute song, touch a chord with me on that album, and a couple of others. But the one I'm bringing up for honorable mention is Love, I'm Good. Like, I back then, Joe was more outside of Pump It Up. After that, he was like, okay, do you follow battle rap, or are you like following backpackers? So, like, unless you were like following battle rap or on some backpacker stuff, it was, at least when I spoke to the people that I was running into in them years, it seemed like I was always putting them on to something good that Joey did. You know what I'm saying? And then out of that came Joel Ortiz and the rest of that whole clique.
I'll give y'all some more, man, too. Tupac's Hail Mary, the first verse, is a hard intro to any song, dog. I ain't a killer, but don't push me. Revenge is like the sweetest joy next to getting.
Yeah.
Kills
Definitely.
it. Andre 3000 on the Aquemini, dog, is crazy. Just that song is insane. His verses on that song are just amazing, dog.
I like the way Pac opened up "What's Your Phone Number?"
I mean, dog, Pac's, I've always agreed with Carlton on this. Pac's ambitions as a writer is one of the hardest intros, like, to start an album, like, you can get. Like, he starts the album off like that, and you're like, this can't be whack. Like, there's no way this album's gonna be whack. So
go ahead.
No, like that just intro to that album is crazy. The other verse, dog, that I think is hard, and I don't think he gets enough credit either, is Common and I Used to Love Her. That's one of my favorite songs where he goes through the history of like hip hop.
It was
shifting
fantastic.
Yeah,
That is
yeah,
a
that was
well-written
good. That was
song.
good.
and how he's talking about how cats used her in the park and just just out of this world.
Good.
Yeah,
That
I
was
wasn't mad when you had that West Coast boyfriend.
I got
Yeah.
one. I'm gonna start with the verse. You tell me the artist, but this is one of my favorites. So, okay, now catch up to my campaign. Coupe the color of mayonnaise. I'm drunk and high at the same time, drinking champagne on the airplane, spitting rounds like a gun range, beat it up
That ain't
like a
Pimp C?
rampage. That's 2 Chainz, baby.
Yes,
2
2
Chainz
Chainz.
verse
Damn it.
on Mercy. 2 Chainz, Bo. You killed that verse, Mo.
I like
He
Titty
killed
Boy.
that verse. He
I
killed
like
that
Titty
verse.
Boy. He's one of the rappers I
He
want to
killed
have a
that
beer
verse.
with, bro.
He
Oh,
killed
yeah.
that verse. All right. We
That's
gotta
one of the
keep
rappers
going.
I wanna have
We
a
gotta
beer
keep
with.
going. We gotta end the show at some point. So we could
Okay.
come back to it. We could do just rap. We could do a rap show if we want to.
Just real quick, man. I'm with you, Craig. Shout
I'm
out to
Amish.
Pimp C, man. I love me some Pimp
Yeah,
C,
we
dog.
didn't. We
I love me some Pimp C, dog.
what's the song with him, Outkast?
My favorite Pimp C verse is on
Players
Get
Anthem.
Throwed. My
Yeah.
favorite Pimp C
Get Throwed.
verse is on Get Throwed.
Okay. Yeah.
The remix with Jay-Z and all of them. To me, Pimp C,
I think so. I
eat so much
think
shrimp.
so.
I got iodine poisoning. It's like, who thinks of that?
I think so. I think
He got
yeah.
scientific on your ass.
What?
I mean, but that's another artist. He got so many verses. Like he got albums, he got solos, he got UGK albums where he's hitting, but those where he's featured, where he guests. Because even on
that's
Big
another
Pimpin',
hard Andre
even
3000
on Big
verse.
Pimpin'.
Yeah, his Big Pimpin' verse is critical. Doc, that's another Andre 3000 and Big Boy verse. Their verses on UGK's song. What's the name of the song, man?
Players Anthem.
On Players Anthem,
Yeah, the way 3 Stacks started it, the way Big Boy ended it, it was like that's hip
the
hop.
all-timer in that song is when Big Boy says, make sure she better choose the right one to pick the kiddies up. Like that's life advice he's giving you right there, dog. Life advice.
All right, y'all gonna let us move on. We gotta move on. We've been at it for a minute. We gotta keep moving.
Rest in peace, Pimp C, man.
Rest in peace, Pimp C. Rest in peace, Biggie. Rest in peace, Pop. Thank y'all. And we'll come back. We'll talk more hip hop because it's still controversial. It's still on the Grammys for all that hip hop is still somehow managed not to televise Killer Mike's getting his awards. But we'll dive into what hip hop is and why, because I think it at least deserves some unsolicited genius perspective for our audience, but also for those who dig up these videos decades from now. All right, so what have you gentlemen been watching, if not just Criminal Minds?
Just Criminal Minds. Well, I'll tell you what I'm about to watch because now it's streaming. As I'm about to sit down and watch Oppenheimer this weekend. Oppenheimer. I've been dying to see it, man. Just as a fan of history, I'm super pumped up to see it. I want to get to the theater and see the Bob Marley movie too, even though I've read some reviews that are worrisome, but I still feel like I have to see it. What else have I been watching, dog? I feel like I watched an older movie. Oh, my kid, he's into superheroes. So, he really just knows the Marvel superheroes. So I felt it was important for me to introduce him to the Dark Knight with Heath Ledger's Joker. And I'd cover his eyes for some of the scenes, but for the majority of the scenes, he was able to watch. And man, he was into it, dog. That movie, it's more than a superhero movie, dog. It truly is an assessment of our society and it's so well written. Like when the Joker says their rules and their moral codes are all a bad joke, and they'll drop them at the first sign that they need to drop them basically for their survival. It's like, like, is he wrong in saying that? Like, people will break their moral code for money, for whatever they deem to be important. Just, there's so many lines in that movie I love, man. Like when Alfred's talking to Batman, and Batman's like, the Joker's like any criminal. We just need to figure out what his motives are. And Alfred looks at him and goes, some men, they just want to see the world burn. And those are the most dangerous people in this world, dog. They have no motive. They're what Joker said he was in the movie was an agent of chaos. He was an agent of chaos. And Heath Ledger's performance in that movie as the Joker was just out of this world, dog. Like when I watched it again with the Johnny, that's my son. It was just like, this dude like gave everything to that character and just absolutely killed it, dog. Just absolutely killed it. And how the movie ended, where Batman realizes that sometimes to be the hero, you have to be the villain and accept that people are going to hate you, is the true unselfishness that's needed from our heroes in real life.
Just one note on that, we talk sympathy, empathy, compassion, and compassion is, I'm learning that compassion is the higher up on the tier. And with that compassion, you may not end as friends. You may not end liked or loved. And then the example you provide, his passion, his care for the people, that we know as a fictitious character, but what Batman represents is he cares for the people. He cares for Gotham. He wants better for them than they may even want for themselves. And in that scene, it's the ultimate sacrifice and compassion in putting himself out there to then know he'd be hated. But then, he came back around with Bane and everything later.
But the other thing I love about Batman in that movie, Carlton, is he has this undying belief in people that they are good, and that when presented with a difficult circumstance, they will do good, even though everything that he sees is contradictory to that.
The hope.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I feel like that sometimes. Like I have such a great belief in people, but a lot of times I feel let down by it, and it's depressing. I'm no superhero or anything like that.
Love humanity.
To see him get rewarded at the end when neither ship blew each other up, that was just like, it's hope, man. Hope is what keeps people going, dog. Hope and faith.
Greg,
I love humanity. I love humanity. Humans are trash. I love
But humans are capable of great things, dog.
Humanity is fantastic. Humans individually are basura. I got I'm very open about this. I even said this at the open house with years ago when I was still teaching. I looked at her and said, look, I love babies and grandparents. Everybody in between is suspect.
Children are the most pure, man.
That's why I stand on that. But as far as watching stuff, honestly, since the last time we spoke, it's been a little bit of Rick and Morty season 7 and a little bit of Solar Opposite season 4. Both of those are animated. And, I think that speaks to more my fetish for dysfunctional families and toxicity and analyzing those circumstances than it does anything else. So I watch.
Rick and Morty, that's the scientists, right? That's Any
I have
slobs,
no
man.
idea
I
what the
can't
hell
do
Craig
it.
is
I
talking
can't do
about.
the
But that's
slob.
because he's always drunk off his
I
rocker,
can't.
bro.
I have
It makes
no
me
idea what the hell
uncomfortable.
Craig is talking about.
What's the?
Someone
I don't
check
know.
it.
What's the other one? Rick and Morty.
Solar Opposites.
Solar Opposites. Okay.
It's kind of a spin-off of the Rick and Morty series.
Oh.
At first, the lead character in Solar Opposites was voiced by the same person from Rick as Rick Sanchez, but that's changed in the most recent season, season 4.
Okay.
Otherwise than that, it's a fairly intelligently written animation. It is going to criticize, especially if you're a political person, I'll put it to you like this: if you are a political person of very progressive ideals, you'll love it, because they push it. They criticize ideals on both sides, but they tend to push the progressive agenda more and clown the other agenda a little bit. But generally speaking, that's coming from the same camp, both animation, both adult animation, in that same vein.
All right, I dig it.
So that's Rick and Morty and Solar Opposites.
I dig. Now, Rick and Morty. I got my cousins. They big in anime. So I at least check out where they guide me. But it's the slobbering. I get it, but I can't. I couldn't. It was messing with me. The empath nature that I possess, I was absorbing all that, and it was too much. So
I guess I should say Hunter for honorable mention, just in case my ex want to spin the block. Okay.
All right, we'll leave that at that. So fortunately, unfortunately, I can't manage to not watch Dragon Ball. I think I'm on season 5 of 6.
You better than me, bro.
But Goku, and just getting the backstories, and just some of the, it's not as emotional as some other things might be, but I did cry. There was a scene that got me. Somebody's father died, and there was some reuniting with the father. So that made me think of my dad. So I did tear up that part. But for me, we talked Bruce Lee earlier. I box, so I would say I'm a student of martial arts in some fashion or form, and the principles that they impart, Master Roshi, the lessons that they teach, I take that in. But again, to know where Dragon Ball kind of evolves to up through 2023, give or take, just getting the filler ends of the backstories and how everybody came about is what really is entertaining me. But that's not that's just the update. I'm still mostly watching that, like Uncle Mo with Criminal Minds. I'm on the Dragon Ball. But I watched clips of Jon Stewart's return to The Daily Show.
I gotta see that.
And
does he still got it?
I didn't realize I missed him as much as I did.
Oh, he's fucking, he's great.
Trevor Noah was good. Love him. His autobiography, if you haven't read it, please check it out. It'll shift your perspective, not just of him, but of this life that we're living. But Jon Stewart is that guy. And what, in going back to our intro, which after our hip hop segment was a long time ago, but when we talk all the stuff in the news and everything going on, to see Jon Stewart and hear him in particular reacting to Tucker Carlson's visit to Russia and the interview with Putin, it's the media is as much a culprit in the shenanigans of our country as the politicians, as the uneducated voter, as much as any other thing Donald Trump done, anything that you would put on the list of problems that those who remain in the country who opt not to Blaxit will have to take on. The media is part of it. And, to know Jon Stewart kind of accidentally became this source of news. You know, he was comedic in nature and he was coming on to be funny initially. But what was supposed to just be jokes became reality. And then the Daily Show, as we know it, was truly born. If not day one, eventually it evolved there. But they lie to us, they mislead us, they overwhelm us, they stress us. You know, if you're a morning news watcher or evening news watcher, you can't do both. And I'm inclined to say you can't do it in the mornings because then that sets the tone for the rest of your day. But they argue with each other. They they allow people to come on and lie and they don't challenge. And ultimately, what we've learned is the reason it is happened is, you know, the 24-hour news cycle was born somewhere between Desert Storm in Iraq and 9/11. But once it took hold, they decided they had to make that money too. And where they were supposed to be a source of information to keep us alert and aware to then go make our best decisions, they're as manipulative as Ted Cruz.
They have an agenda.
Yeah.
They have an agenda.
And so Jon Stewart, you know, clearly he leans left. You know, I don't know how he labels himself, but when I watch him, I feel like I'm getting someone's truth. Whether we agree or disagree on everything, I feel like he's taking what he sees. Granted, the stuff you when you see it, Uncle Mo, it's so funny. I'm assuming he has writers that help, but what he's able to communicate is what this country needs. And the work that he did away from the Daily Show once he left the Daily Show wasn't comical. It was advocacy. And he was out fighting the fight for what he believed to be right. And so I don't think he's on every day. I'm not sure how it's going to play out.
Like
but
Mondays or something, I heard.
It was I didn't know I would when I heard he came back, it was like, okay, he back, clap, clap. But to see him on the set, he's a lot more gray. But it was
when I tell
it was
you
refreshing.
I was fortunate enough to go to a comedy show in Atlanta, Georgia, a Black Mecca, that featured Dave Chappelle, and his opening act was Jon Stewart.
Mm.
And when I tell you that to a man, to a woman in the crowd that night, they would have told you Jon Stewart ruled the night, dog.
Yeah.
Like, if they were going toe for toe, Jon Stewart was better than Chappelle that night. And I'm not telling you he's a better comic than him, but on that night in a Black Mecca, Jon Stewart was king of the Fox, dog. Like, he was just king of the Fox Theater in Atlanta, Georgia. And I don't know anybody in that theater that didn't feel the same way. Like, he was so good, Carlton. Just comedic genius up on that stage. And it was just excellent, man. I loved it.
Yeah. All right. What have you all been reading?
I've read a couple of things, man. One of the things that I like to go back to, I'm a big fan of Tupac's poetry, man. And one of my favorite poems from him is "In the Event of My Demise." It's just one of those poems that I really love. So that's one thing. I've been reading his poetry, and in the event of my demise, when my heart can beat no more, I hope I die for a principle or a belief that I had lived for. I will die before my time because I feel the shadow's depth. So much I wanted to accomplish before I reach my death. I have come to grips with the possibility and wiped the last tear from my eyes. I loved all who were positive in the event of my demise. I just love the poem because it's like, you know, it's about the urgency of today. You don't know when your demise is. So try to make the most of every day, be impactful, try to impact someone's life. So Just a big fan of that. The other thing I read this week, and I would encourage anyone to read, is the great brother, W.E.B. Du Bois. I read an essay that he wrote about Robert E. Lee because I was doing some research on the Civil War. And this man, I mean, we were talking about words earlier. This man was lethal with his words, like just like an AK-47 through the chest, like just so articulate, man. I'll read just a portion of it. I recommend you find the essay. It's a short essay, but it's just so well written. In the last paragraph, he says, "It is ridiculous to seek to excuse Robert E. Lee as the most formidable agency this nation ever raised to make 4 million human beings goods instead of men. Either he knew what slavery meant when he helped maim and murder thousands in its defense, or he did not. If he did not, he was a fool. If he did, Robert E. Lee was a traitor and a rebel, not indeed to his country, but to humanity and humanity's God." And the essay is about Robert E. Lee's been glorified in Southern culture and even somewhat in America. Like if you go to Stone Mountain in Atlanta, Georgia, they have this dude is on the mountain. He's carved into the mountain with Jefferson Davis and Stonewall Jackson.
D4.
And people love to say, well, Robert E. Lee wasn't fighting for slavery. He was fighting for states' rights. But what was the state right that they were trying to maintain? Slavery. So he was fighting for slavery, and he led hundreds of thousands of men to their death in trying to preserve slavery for the South. I don't get the justification of trying to make it seem like he was a decent person because he didn't truly believe in slavery. It's like, well, if you didn't believe in slavery, why did you fight to preserve slavery? Right. And to find something where W.E. Du Bois so eloquently talks about Robert E. Lee, I just found to be fascinating, man. I mean, he even brings that up. He goes, of course he never fought for slavery. Well, for what did he fight? States' rights? Nonsense. The South cared only for states' rights as a weapon to defend slavery, which is absolutely accurate, in my opinion, in his depiction of Robert E. Lee. And it's a scathing piece that he writes about Robert E. Lee. Look it up, man. Just thoroughly. It will take 2 minutes out of your day. It's a short essay, but it feels like a book when you read it.
Uncle Craig, what have you been reading?
I'm a wormhole reader, so I get caught in wormholes and start reading things. So I kind of speak to that. But as far as my daily thing, I kind of have a devotional going on, and I think I mentioned it before, where whatever the calendar date is, I will choose that book of Proverbs and read from there. And usually, without fail, something from that chapter or book will strike me. So today being the 20th, I read from the 20th. I read from Proverbs 20, and I didn't have to go far. Proverbs 20 verse 1 and Proverbs 20 verse 4, I should say 1 through 4, really did the job for everything. And Proverbs 20, and if hey man, it strikes a chord on a few different levels. It says, wine is a mocker, strong drink is raging, and whoever is deceived thereby is not wise. Hey man, I'll leave that there. It goes on to say by 4, though, it says, the sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold, therefore he shall beg in the harvest and have nothing. So for me, what it speaks to personally is 2 different things. Is one, managing my relationship with the fermented libations, right? And then secondly, hey man, you get out what you put in. And that's what Proverbs 20/4 is really about, and speaks to the benefits of putting in your work and your discipline and things like that. And so that stood out to me. Tomorrow I'll read 21. I don't know what's going to stand out to me then, but that's kind of what I'm on now. Outside of that, as far as my wormhole reading, I've been reading about cymatics and how sound impacts photons and other small particles, and And that was sprung by a conversation with some gentlemen who sincerely believe that in that, Jericho situation in the Bible, that they really put the band in front of the troops and they won the war. I believe there was some sound technology involved there, but the writer had trouble explaining it. Because if you listen to how that situation played out, I hear that clearly there was some sort of tech involved there that involved sound and vibration to make the walls fall and lead them to victory. I don't buy into that foolishness that they put the band guys ahead of the soldiers and all of a sudden that was a tipping point in the war. That's trash. Miss me with that.
I don't know how they convince them to do that shit. Like, if there's a war, there's no way I'm playing the drums in the front line, dog. Like, I need a gun. I'm not playing a drum.
Yeah, there's some
or a
sound
trumpet
technology going on
while
there,
people
bro.
are shooting cannons at my head. I'm not carrying a flag. I want a vest and a weapon, or I'm out. I'm out.
That's where I'm at, homie. So and a book that I got many years ago that I probably won't finish till I'm in my 70s, The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall. It's so dense with all the occult esoteric stuff, and I really love that kind of stuff.
So I finished A Little Life. I mentioned that a couple episodes ago. The most beautifully heart-wrenching story that I would imagine reading. I finished it after a couple years of just not wanting to have my heart broken by text. And it happened anyway. So no spoilers. But again, it for me, what this book does as we talk about humans versus humanity, humans over the course of our written existence have done horrific things to the planet, to Mother Nature, and to each other. And as we mentioned early in the show, the young lady here, the 11-year-old here in Texas, I'm not aware of the entire story, but I know she didn't make it to school and she was found dead in the river. So the trafficking, the raping, the robbing, the pillaging, the murdering, the taking advantage of ings, all these things that we do, it's children suffer. And should they survive the ordeal, that then impacts the adult that they are and everything that they're able to experience in life. So the crime is of the moment, but the crime continues as time for that survivor continues to unfold. So I finished that and I'm rereading now Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. I'll come back to it. I don't know if I talked about it on the show or not, but if we did, then so be it. You have to hear it again if you've been listening that long. But that's Unsolicited Genius. What we listen to, what we watch, what we read. We'll take a 30-second break and be right back. Welcome back. This is Unsolicited Genius. Before we get out of here, we will remind you to like, subscribe, follow, and share wherever we are. We on all the internet places, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram. If there's something else that I didn't mention, we're there too. Don't worry about it. Unsolicited Genius. Look for us. You'll find us. Follow. We follow and holler back. Shout out to the super producer Joe Nitty. You work this episode. You work this episode. So, you know, sorry in advance. Thank you for making us continue to look good. Thank you to our sponsors, Legacy Wear, where your legacy awaits. Find them at www.legacywearus.com. Megacore CBD, thank you so much. Broad spectrum hemp derived CBD, the way nature intended. Find out more about them at megacorecbd.com. Or rainwater that tells us to hydrate and elevate. Learn more about what they do and how they do it at www.aurarainwater.com. That's AURA rainwater.com. And then Carlton Ennis coaching. That's me. Be your light. If you're interested in getting my weekly Monday motivations, you can sign up at www.carltonissco.com. Share some insight, give you some motivations to start the week. More to come for sure. All right, Uncle Mo, Craig, before we get out of here, who all would you all like to shout out?
Shout out Joe Nitty as always, man. Shout out anybody out there fighting the good fight, man. There's plenty of people doing it. Shout out to Killer Mike, man. Super happy for him to get those Grammys as an older rapper in his 40s. Just put a smile on my face, man. So big shout out to him, and continued blessings. Big Killer Mike, I live in Atlanta, man. He does a lot for this community, and he just seems like a genuinely good dude that's always thinking about his people and hasn't forgotten his people that are not as blessed as he is in life. So shout out to Killer Mike, man.
Man, I like to shout out to a lot of my former students out there. I see them all doing their thing, everything from pro baseball to writing songs for Grammy nominated artists, getting honorable mentions for spoken word at the Grammys themselves, or spoken word Grammys, and maybe they might wind up getting one someday and even televising that part too. But like, shout out to my former proteges that's out there living their dreams, man. You're better than your teacher. Keep it up.
Man, that's sweet. All right, so I got shout out Uncle Zeke, man. He came back on Auntie Cheryl and won the fantasy pick'ems. I was out of that thing, I don't know,
Weeks ago.
week 2, week 1
Week
of the
one.
playoffs. I don't know, but needless to say, Uncle
memory
Zeke came
blurry,
back,
huh?
got it. Now, granted, the trophy don't change houses; it just changed hands. But shout out to Uncle Zeke, he did that thing.
Okay.
All right, so Thoughts of Genius, get us out of here with this. So we talked hip hop verses. In fact, we talked 3 stacks. We talked 3 stacks with Goody Mob. But for me, my song, one of the most classic verses, when I heard it, I wrote it, I learned it. The computer, you could put words on your computer screen. I had portions at different times of this verse on my computer screen. And so I thought, hip hop contains genius, 3 stacks being a full perpetuator of that genius. So I get us out of here on that verse. Now, as an outcast, I was born, wasn't warned of the harm that would come to meet me like met life, but yet life done send me through a lot of ups and downs like it ain't nothing, like elevators, but I ain't the one that's pushing the buttons. I got off on the 13th floor when they told me that it wasn't one. They said it skipped from 12 to 14. Still smoking, still drinking. No, I'm sitting on the Lincoln 4 a.m. thinking that in reality, the world is like a ball full of players. We trapped off in this maze with walls made of layers, and only prayer is the tightest game that you can have. The devil's taking a swing that might explain the broken glass, but my crystal ball see the pistol fall to the wayside. Nobody would die in cops and robbers when we used to play, right? Only thing we feared was Williams Wayne. Never thought about hitting licks or slinging cane. Did not think I'd be the one to give into abortion. Label me murderer because my ass is scorching. Hot from the Glock that sits under my seat. Yeah, it's real messed up that my folks come to get me. And it's like that. Join us next week, same genius time, same genius channel. And for whenever you are, good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
Peace.
Craig D. Molat. You are listening to Unsolicited Genius.